Hi there, guys. Mr. Lamb again, coming to you with the sixth unit, or the sixth learning target out of Unit 5, Coordinate Geometry, and this is finding the opposite endpoint when you know the midpoint. So this is going to take us back a little bit to the midpoint. So in order to find a midpoint, you use the concept of finding the average x and the average y. Formula, as we remember, is x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. So if you want to find the missing endpoint, you're going to treat this formula like it's actually two different formulas. One will find the average x, and the other will find the average y. They'll look like what you see in the middle of the screen. The midpoint of x is x1 plus x2 over 2, and the midpoint of y is y1 plus y2 over 2. So now you're given the midpoint, which is mx and my, and you have one point, which is x1 and x2. So you're just going to plug in and solve for the missing variable. So let's take a look at this as an example. So it says find the endpoint if the midpoint is 8, 5. So this 8 is the midpoint for x. Is 8. The midpoint for the x is at 8. The midpoint for y is at 5. And then one endpoint, we'll call this x1 and y1. Okay, well, I know this. I know that the midpoint for x is x1 plus x2 all over 2. Well, I just looked. The midpoint for x is actually 8. x1 is 6 plus x2 over 2. Well, to solve this for x, the first thing I want to get rid of is that whole big divide by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. Equals 6 plus x2. And now get x2 by itself by subtracting 6. So 16 minus 6 is 10 is x2. All right, well that takes care of the midpoint for x being 8. So the midpoint for y is 5. So midpoint for y is y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And we know that the midpoint for y is 5 equals y1, which is 10, plus y2 over 2. And again, first thing I want to get rid of the divide by 2 by multiplying both sides by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Equals 10 plus y2. Subtract 10 on both sides. 10 minus 10 is 0 is equal to y2. So the equation, or the question says, find the endpoint. So the endpoint is a coordinate, and the x value for that coordinate is 10. The y coordinate is 0. So the point you were looking for should have been 10, 0. Again, notice that it's just a matter of doing a similar equation 2 different times. So I'm going to stop writing the equation now. I'll still find all the work. I'm just not going to write the equation. So example number 2 says find the endpoint if the midpoint, that's my midpoint, and here is my x1, y1. Alright, so the midpoint for x is negative 6 is equal to the two x's, 9 plus the other x, divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 12 equals 9 plus the other x value. Subtract 9. So negative 21 is my x value. To find the y, take the midpoint for the y. So 1 is equal to my two y's, negative 6 plus the missing y. Multiply both sides by 2. 2 is equal to negative 6 plus y. Add 6 to both sides, and 8 is the y value. So my other endpoint is negative 21, 8. And hopefully you can go and check these. If you are a master of finding midpoints, take your given endpoint and the endpoint you found and calculate the midpoint. So do 9 plus negative 21 is negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 plus 8 is negative 2. Or I'm sorry, is 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So you can plug these back into the original midpoint formula to find midpoints. All right, example 3 says find the endpoint if the midpoint. So here is my midpoint. So my middle x is at 7 equals, my x value is negative 4 plus the other x value divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2. 14 equals negative 4 plus x, and then add 4 to both sides. So 18 is the x value. The midpoint for y is negative 9 equals y1 plus y2 over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 18 equals 0 plus y, which is just y. And there's nothing left to solve. So my endpoint on this one, the x value is positive 18. The y value is negative 18. Go ahead and try number 4 on your own if you would like. You can hit pause now. And taking a look at number 4, we're going to do the same kind of process here. So let's find the endpoint. Here is my midpoint. So my midpoint for x is at negative 2. That is equal to my two x's, negative 1 plus x, divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2. So negative 4 equals negative 1 plus x. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 3 is equal to x. Now go to my y's. Negative 3 is the midpoint. My two y's are negative 8, and I'm solving for the other one, divided by 2. Start out by multiplying by 2. Negative 6 is equal to negative 8 plus y. Then add 8 to both sides. 2 is equal to y. So my missing endpoint, x value has a negative 3, the y value positive 2. So if you are a master of midpoint already, this is just a very slight variation into using what you know about midpoint to try to find a missing endpoint. So I hope you find this useful. As always, let me know if you have any questions.